Still today, from that first year or two, we still represent some of those tenants today that I met back then. And it's the neatest thing in the world. We have a relationship with LA Fitness that has been made on a handshake from someone that has just changed my career, changed my life, has made an absolute difference. And it was on one simple handshake. And we've got, 33-year relationship with them. We would not be where we're at today without them. It's neat. We're really lucky.
Have you ever wondered how successful architecture, engineering, and construction companies scale their business?
Or have you ever wanted guidance on how to get more growth, wealth, and freedom from your AEC company?
Well, then you are in luck. Hi, I'm Will Forat.
And I'm Justin Nagel, and we're your podcast hosts.
We interview successful AEC business leaders to learn how they use people, process, and technology to scale their businesses.
So sit back and get ready to learn from the industry's best. This is Building Scale.
Hey listeners, it's Will here. Our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy. If you've ever listened to our show, then you know that the three pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology. So if you suspect technology is your weak link, then book a call with us to see where we can help maximize your company's IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
Today's guest is Walt Brown Jr., the founder, CEO, and designated broker for Diversified Partners, a full-service real estate development and brokerage firm based in Scottsdale, Arizona. With over 33 years of experience in commercial real estate, Walt has leased, sold, and developed more than 5,000 properties and more than 12 million square feet of retail space nationwide. He's built strong, long-term relationships with major national tenants like Starbucks, In-N-Out, LA Fitness, Walmart, and Home Depot. Walt started Diversified Partners in '96, growing it into one of Arizona's leading firms through his big picture mindset, hands-on leadership, and reputation for integrity. His firm provides a wide range of services, including development, brokerage, investment, property management, and tenant-landlord representation across retail, office, industrial, and land sectors. Outside of business, though, Walt is a devoted family man, passionate philanthropist, and former college football athlete for University of New Mexico. He's been honored with the City of Hope Spirit of Life Award and supports organizations like Phoenix Children's Hospital and Fresh Start. And with all that said, welcome to the show, Walt.
Justin, thank you. Will, thank you. And thanks for having me this morning.
Yes.
Let's not forget that you're also a racing man. We forgot to put that in there. You're a big racer too.
It's a love. It's, as you know, Will, it gets in your system and you can't get it out.
That's right. I love it. That's the spirit that keeps everything alive.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So give us a little bit more color of the origin story, Walt, how you got in the business, and then tell us a little bit about Diversified.
Well, I went through school and I wanted to be a dentist. And at some point in time, I've looked around and went, what am I thinking? And my dad said, stop thinking, go back to school and be a dentist. You're going to make $350,000 a year. You're never going to be working on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And you don't have to answer the phone at night to go to the emergency room. And I said, okay. And what, Justin, what I had to do is I had to go find something I loved. My parents worked their butt off all day, every day. And I think they were really out there just working to provide for myself and my two brothers and two sisters. There's 5 of us. I watched that from a young age, and I decided that I had to go find something I loved. There was something that happened when I was really young in my life. I was 11 years old, and my mom took me to Goodwill, and I found something I had to have. So I grabbed it and I said, Mom, I got to have this. It was a vest. It was a leather vest. And I was 11 years old. Who knows what the heck you're thinking at 11 years old with a leather vest.
Rock star leather vest.
And she said, well, we don't have the money to buy that today, but we'll have it. And let's see if we can't lay it away. And I remember that still today, like it was yesterday. And I said, I'm going to go find something I love and that I can work hard at and be passionate about, but could never put myself or my children in that situation.
That's awesome. That's very powerful story.
You think about that, and you think about Goodwill, and today we are one of Goodwill's landlords, and it's a great position to be in. I had to go search and find something that I loved, and Will, I know you love, well, both of you love family, but Will, I know you have a love for cars, and when I discovered commercial real estate and commercial real estate development, I truly have never worked a day in my life ever since. I get to be creative. I get to work on design and implementation. I get to negotiate documents with people that are really more my friends and people I care about, and really that care about us, because it's a mutual win-win for everybody. It's not just about me. It's not being piggy or being selfish. It's what we can do together to grow all of us. And that's really what I've loved about commercial real estate and commercial development since the day I really discovered it. And I did my first deal, and it literally, I feel like I've never worked a day in my life. I'm so blessed in that. It makes me giddy.
Can you talk about your first deal? I think that story is really cool. Why don't you talk about your first deal? How did you get introduced to real estate development?
So I had a friend that worked for the International Council of Shopping Centers, and they hold regional meetings to help promote the business, both for developers as well as retailers all across the world. And she was kind enough to take me to this meeting, and I went to every one of the little breakout sessions, and I'm listening to developers, I'm listening to retailers. And I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking, man, there is a lot of people here making a lot of money. And I didn't think they were any different than I was. And so I literally tried to introduce myself to every person I met. And I'd read their tag and I'd be like, what do you do? How do you do it? Where did you go? How'd you get in the business? And I met a guy that was an attorney, and him and I hit it off. I don't know where it was. It was maybe at breakfast on the third day. And I said, I'm going to come to work for you. And he said, well, I don't need anybody to work for me. I said, that's okay. I'll work for free. And so I talked him into letting me work in his office. And he was an attorney that was one of the greatest document crafters I've ever met and been around in my life. A commercial real estate transaction lives and dies on a document and the relationship between the parties and the agreement between the parties. So he'd write these documents or maybe print them from the previous, and I'd say, well, I need a copy of that. And I'd take it home at night and I'd read it and I'd highlight everything I didn't know. And I'd come back in the next morning and I'd go, what the heck does this mean? And I'd ask him 20 questions. And about the time when he had had enough, he'd be like, get out of here. Leave me alone. I got to get to work. But I read documents and I was cold calling retailers, and it was the cutest thing in the world. I'd go to work, and if you want to be successful at commercial real estate, when you start, you got to start at 5 a.m. and you work till 8 p.m. You do that for about 3 years, and all of a sudden you make enough money to make it reasonable. But I would come in at 5 a.m. and I would start cold calling. I was on the West Coast. And I would start cold calling the East Coast, and I would call all those East Coast companies from 5 till about 7:30. And then I'd drive home and take a shower and put, regular clothes on, because I'd get up and who knows where I'd been or what I'd done the night before. And I would get up, I'd put a baseball hat on, my gym shorts and a t-shirt. I'd go to work and I'd start cold calling. When I hit 7:30, I'd jump in the car, drive back to the house, take a shower, and then drive back to the office, get there about 8:15. And then I'd start working my way to the west across, Chicago, Dallas, Texas, and working my way. And then I'd keep calling on the West Coast guys until 6 or 6:30 at night. Prospecting for business. Literally the first year, I worked 51 weeks, 60 to 70 hours a week. And on the weekends, I would drive and look at properties. And at the end of the first year, I made my first check the first day of the 52nd week. I was bartending at nighttime to provide for myself. And I got a check for $36,000 the last week of my first year in my commercial real estate career. And the next year, with the same work ethic, I made 3 times that. And the next year, I made 3 times that. Now, when you love something, it's so easy to be successful. When you're passionate about what you do, it really isn't work. It's just enjoying the journey of life. And I believe a lot of people in the world out there haven't taken the time to find what they love and apply that to what they will provide for their family with, because when you can merge those together, it makes the journey, and really that's what matters, is the journey. It's not the material things that we have, it's the journey, and knowing that I had a great day yesterday and today I'm going to do the same thing, especially I'm with you two today. I mean, it just makes me smile seeing those 2 big smiling faces of your guys. It's what it's all about, and enjoying that journey and caring about people and what you do and what they do with you, because it's really easy to build a book of business in any business by caring first and making sure that you're achieving their goals just as much as your goals, that they're equally as important, and not being selfish or what I call piggy sometimes.
When did that mindset come? Was it just always innate to you, or was this a thing that, you found the thing you loved, so you naturally did a lot of it because you wanted to make it, right? You wanted to make that your thing. But when did you start realizing that, like, bringing people together, caring about their goals, being more of just a flash, a sun of positive energy, and how that multiplies the outcome that comes?
Justin, my dad always said you have to listen. And he said you can't just listen, you have to hear. He said, because a lot of times people will say something, but they actually aren't great at communicating. So sometimes the words will come out, but you have to really listen and hear what they might truly be trying to say. Not just listening, but hearing and think in the concept of what they're trying to say. So I was raised with that in, my parents, I came from a great loving family, and really starting, and my dad used to say, when you make a customer happy and you fill their needs, that compounds over time and will change your life. That first client that I had was Converse tennis shoes. And here is how lucky I was. And sometimes when you work really hard, you do get lucky. And I used to call this man, great man, Tom Rickert was his name, and he was a Boston guy. Here's a Boston guy. You know those Boston guys and the way they are. They're tough and rough, and I used to call him every week, and I'd say, Mr. Rickards, Walt Brown Jr., the hardest working man in America. And I always called him early, and he knew I was on the West Coast. And I'd usually call him on Wednesday or Thursday because he was golfing on Friday, which is where I wanted to be, but I was working. And I'd go, good morning. And after doing this for probably 6 or 8 months, I think it was a Thursday morning. And I'm like, good morning. How you doing, my friend? And he's like, Brownie, what's up? And I said, you know what I'm calling for. I want to earn your business. What can I do for you today? And he said, well, son, it's your lucky day. And he said, I had a store robbed and I think it was in the Santa Monica area. And he said, I think you're in Newport Beach. I said, yes, sir. I lived in about 400 square foot studio, couldn't afford anything. And he said, I want you to drive to this trade area, and I want you to go look at every shopping center. And when you're done, I want you to send me a fax. That was a fax at that time. It wasn't an email, it wasn't a text. And summarize your 4 best choices. And I'll call you the minute I get it. Shit, I hung up the phone. I jumped in the car, and I did exactly what he said. And I drove it had to be at 5:45, 6 in the morning. I drove until 8 o'clock at night. I wrote out the fax. Actually, I think it was the paper with the little cleats on the side, and I wrote
Tearaways.
it out.
Yeah.
And then I fed it in the fax machine, and I sent it off. And he calls me and he says, I'll be there at 10 in the morning. Pick me up at LAX. And I'm like, oh no, I got a job. What am I going to do? And he said, drive to the, go, let's go see all four. We weren't in each project 3 minutes. And there was some distance. So we drove 30 minutes to the first one, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, take me to lunch, take me to the airport. And he pulls out the book and he's like, okay, I can get on this flight. He goes in the airport and he's gone. And he said, get me that deal. And lo and behold, I did get him that deal that he wanted. He goes, that's my number one. If we exhaust that, I will go to number two, but I don't want to do it. Let's stick with number one. And we made that deal, which was fantastic. And the day we made the deal, I said, Mr. Rickert, what do you need next? How can I help you make your job easier? And what can I do that'll make a difference for you? You see how I work. You see what I've done. And how can I help? And he said, go to Dallas and do the same thing. And I said, really? He goes, yeah. I went, oh no, holy moly. I bought a ticket to Southwest Airlines. At that time, we didn't have this amazing technology that these young guns that work around us are using. So I pulled up into a Circle K or a 7-Eleven or a convenience store, and I bought the maps, and I'm looking at all the maps, and I'm like, okay, these look like major streets, and I'm going to drive them all. And I drove it for 3 days, and I picked out 10 spots, and eventually we did not 100 stores, but we did a bunch of stores. And I just kept asking how I could help him. And we've done that with many of the tenants. And still today, from that first year or two, we still represent some of those tenants today that I met back then. And it's the neatest thing in the world. We have a relationship with LA Fitness that has been made on a handshake from someone that has just changed my career, changed my life, has made an absolute difference. And it was on one simple handshake. And we've got, 33-year relationship with them. We would not be where we're at today without them. It's neat. We're really lucky.
Wow. So kudos to you. You did you have the story that is required to find the American dream, right? Like you've got the background story that, everybody wants the dream, but like you have the story that gets you to the dream, which is amazing. When did this turn into, now I'm not just a single contributor, I have a team, or I'm going to build a team, or I'm going to have others around me to then, really start multiplying and using the leverage there?
I was working at a company. Well, let me back up just a little bit. LA Fitness, I was talking with the principals of LA Fitness, and we were talking about expanding. And they said, well, and I was doing a little bit of work with them in LA, and we got into a discussion of expanding LA Fitness across the country. And the principals at LA Fitness said, where would you go? And I said, well, I'd probably either go to South Florida or Phoenix. And he said, well, pick one and move there, and we'll give you our exclusive. And I went, holy cow. I went and analyzed the two markets, and with his motivational request, I ended up in Phoenix, which I'm a warm weather guy, so it's worked out great. And physically, it has worked out off the charts because I moved to Arizona, helped expand them into that market and other markets. It was great timing because there was a lot of vacant land in Arizona. And I'm looking around going, there was no land in Southern California. This is easy. And when you combine that with timing and work ethic, because I was calling on landowners and saying, what are you doing? Why aren't you developing? You got vacant land. Vacant land doesn't make any money. It just is dust. And that really kind of worked to my favor. I'd go meet with the landowner and he'd say, well, I'll sell if you'll buy. And I go, well, I don't have any money, but I might if I could find the users to help me assemble the credit and the income. I could probably figure out a way to buy. But again, I don't have any money. I mean, I remember having that conversation with 10 or 15 very successful companies or owners. And they were like, what are you doing here without any money? And I go, I'm working on it. I'm here.
I'm trying to get the money. That's why I'm working.
Exactly. And at that point in time, Justin, I got to where I was too busy. And I went to my then boss who I worked for, and I said, I need a bigger percentage of my money, because you have a share when you're at a brokerage company. And I need a little bigger cut because I'm going to hire some people around me. And he said, I'm not giving you a bigger cut. I said, okay, well, I love you. You're a great guy. I quit. And I went, and that's how I formed Diversified Partners. I literally went that day, went to a building I liked. I said, how much space you got available? He goes, I got this great suite here. And I go, I'll take it. I signed a lease on the spot. I went to a used furniture store and bought the furnishings, put them in my Jeep Cherokee, and drove, and they had to help me with the stuff that was too big. And then I called 3 or 4 people that I had relationships with, and I hired my first employee. And do you remember the MasterCard and Visa bills when you used to get them? They had those checks on the bottom. Well, I was paying him with those checks. Literally, because when I founded the company, wow. I think I had like $6,000 and my rent was 800 or something. But then it started to come, and I called all the people that I was doing business with, and I said, well, I used to be at this company, but I formed my own company. And the great news is everybody said, I don't care what the name of the company is, as long as I have you, I'm here to stay, and we're going anywhere you go. And that's very humbling. I mean, it truly is. It's something that it gives you strength. To think about some of those conversations, it makes you proud. And now it's kind of bigger than me. The company, we're very lucky. We're very blessed. We have everybody in our company is a get shit done person. They don't waste time. They're not lollygaggers. There's no cancer. Everybody wants to do great things. And when you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, because believe me, I call them the young guns, this youth, you two, same way. You guys, young, you're smart as hell, you're creative, and you have these tools. I mean, I'm thinking about something in a conference room with my team, and as I'm talking about what I'm thinking about, they're pulling it up, and it's all of a sudden they go share screen, and it's on this 9-foot by 8-foot television in our conference room. And they're going, well, that's the store spacing right there. It looks like there's holes here, 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 and here. I'm like, holy cow. The commercial industry, the commercial real estate industry has changed so much with this technology. I mean, Google Earth, you can drop down, you can 3D, you can look at stuff. And the industry is the greatest industry in the world. And one of the reasons that it attracted me is because I felt weekends were more important with my children. Okay, maybe on the racetrack too, Will. I know you're thinking about that.
A little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah, but I felt at holidays, I wanted to be with my family and my friends on the holidays and the weekends. I did not want to be at work, which is where my parents were at most of the time. And I was able to really identify that as I was growing up. I started at 16 on a New Year's Eve, making a list of my goals for the next year. And I have those still today from every year. It's hilarious how they've changed. And, it's like, I want a black lab and a Suburban and a boat. It was like, okay, where'd that one come from? And now as I'm growing up, I don't know if I'm growing up, but, I'm maturing. It's about health, and it's about the journey, and it's about quality. Maybe not so much quantity, but when you take the time, and I think that is it's an asset that is irreplaceable. Taking the time to write your goals, write your objectives, and also write down what you have not achieved through the previous year, identifying both the goods and the bads. And you don't need to talk to yourself, but mentally going through it, the goods and the bads, and understanding. Because if you had a goal and you didn't hit it, you really need to confront yourself on why you didn't hit it. What happened? What got in my way? Was it something I could have controlled? Was it something somebody else didn't do or shouldn't have done or should have done? And what is my excuse? Because excuses are like, everybody's got good excuses. But confronting that also helps you adjust or reproject for the coming year. And I've always done that. I still do it today. I make my two sons do it, and I think it's important. And I tell my team, I call them, the family of young guns. I tell them, you got to write down your goals. You got to write down your objectives, share them with the people around you, and talk to them, because if they know they can help you get there, this is not a lonely road. And teamwork creates strength and discipline as well. And people help. People love to help. I promise you two, if you knew someone's goal, you would help them get it if you could. And that's just the way the world is. And it makes a difference when you don't have to hoard them and hide them and be like, oh, share them. Let's go. Let's do it together and make it work. So,
You're muted.
So I love what you talked about, and, the work ethic and all that. Like, this is something that some people cannot imagine. Okay. I think maybe other entrepreneurs can, right? So you were taught a whole bunch of things, but there's the entrepreneurial tax, right? Where you just have to learn by paying your way through. Okay. And especially since you are working with construction companies, with GCs, right? And all that, with architects and engineers. What is it? What are the issues that the industry has? Because I'm sure you get calls every day. Everyone wants to work with a developer, right? But what are the issues that you see with the industry? And I'll leave it broad.
okay. You want me to answer that now,
Yeah.
or we go?
Yeah.
Okay. So the industry problems have changed, by the way, because it directly relates to people's desire to be successful. And what we have encountered is a lot of people make promises that they don't fulfill. A lot of people put a schedule together that is unrealistic. A lot of people commit in a commitment, and we spend a lot of time holding people's feet to the fire. We have a team of people that hold others accountable for their commitments. Then we have to tie it in with a contract, because if you're a builder, we have obligations to our end users. And if we don't hold your feet to the fire, it's going to cost us a lot of money. The companies that we deal with are publicly traded companies, and they have to produce. It's a requirement for them, and it's a requirement for us to produce. Obligations and commitments, and tracking people and their accountability. We spend a lot of time and a lot of money doing that, and it's no fun, by the way. And calling people out. I got a text message from yesterday where the guy has made 4 or 5 promises, and it's light promises. When I'm asking a question of a team member, I'm very specific. When are you going to submit for the permit? Tuesday. I'm going to submit by Friday. It's perfect. Monday morning at 8 o'clock, I have somebody call him and ask him for the submittal number. Well, guess what? It didn't get done. So then it's like, oh, well, the engineer made a mistake on this or that, passing the buck of bullshit, I call. Okay. Bob.
Bullshit. I love that.
Okay. And he passed the buck. And so then we go into a discussion of, well, give us his number. We're going to call him. I'll handle it. No, we're going to handle it too. We're going to get involved. What's his name and his number? We're going to call him. And most of the time people squirm. But in our industry, we have a lot of problems and newer things since a pandemic, which I never use the C word because it's not healthy. Supply chain issues, the power companies are busier than they've ever been. Good architects, they're so busy they couldn't give a damn about it. Now, it may change just a little bit with what's going on out there in the environment today, and we may be able to get a foot or a leg even back up on them. But they're going to go to the one who pays them the fastest, holds them accountable the least, okay? And I use that accountability statement because we have a team of people that hold people accountable. Our architecture and design team that manages our consultants, they have a spreadsheet. I see the spreadsheet every week, and I see their notes every week. I meet with them every week, either by technology or face-to-face. Our lending side, the capital market side, I see every transaction and where it's at. Our property management side, I see the notes, holding people accountable. But we as a company have been very fortunate because we have people, I don't know if they're like me, they're probably much better than me, but they're the people that you don't have to manage. And starting with that mindset, I mean, I can remember the Goodwill story like it was yesterday, and that was 40 some years ago. Okay. And I will never get close to coming back to that. Never, never, never. And my children, and I am surrounded by people that have that same mindset. They believe in themselves and they want to succeed, and you don't have to manage them. When you properly train somebody that you know has it in them and they want to be that person, the rest is really easy because then it's just proper training. I spend a lot of time, especially with these young guns. I'm like, did you read your document word for word before you sent it out? Did you read every word of the document and make sure it truly conveyed, one, what you were trying to say, and two, what the client truly needs and wants? And a lot of these young guns, we've had to work hard to make sure they have the tools, both, you know, I've heard some of these quotes, well, just send it to AI. Well, AI didn't negotiate the transaction. Okay, they don't know what the principal truly needs, what his wants are, and what's going to make the transaction work for him. So we spend a lot of time training, and we make sure that we start with the right person in their heart and in their mind first. And then we give them the tools. We force them to read these leases with national publicly traded companies and come back and go, do you understand every word of that lease? And we don't stop until they say yes, because a lease, a purchase contract, a document, the agreement, the simple part, the letter of intent, which is usually 2 or 3 pages in the commercial real estate business, that's easy. But when you get to the depth, the meat of the document, you have to know what each side wants and is trying to achieve. You can't make assumptions, and you've got to combine, the hard work and work ethic with knowledge. What I did that first year was I read documents 2 or 3 nights a week. I'd wake up in the morning, and in the document, I'd slept on it, and I'd scratched from it because I fell asleep reading the documents. And in the commercial real estate industry, everything is in the documents. So you have to combine a work ethic, a desire. You got to have the desire. You got to want to be an entrepreneur. You got to want to be successful. You got to want to be a leader, but you have to have the knowledge behind it. If you don't have the knowledge, you've got to find a way to get it. And you've got to work hard enough at getting it to where you make a difference. And I say make a difference, but the fact is, if you are a leader of a company, if you're a visionary, if you're the entrepreneur, if you're leading people, you have to, one, be prepared to do every single job in the building, but you have to make sure that you're on the cutting edge of everything in the industry, that you're working and learning and teaching the whole way through, bringing them with you and adding value to them as well. You can't just be like, well, I got it all and I'm not sharing. You have to give back. I mean, you walk in our company and these young guns, They're bulletproof. And it just makes me giddy. And I am the beneficiary of that because they are kicking ass. Scratch that word, but they really are. I mean, they are doing amazing things, but they're working at it. It's not, I'm going to work. I got here at 8 and I'm leaving at, hold on, it's almost 5 o'clock. 5, I'm out the door. It's, you can tell that they have that desire and they have that drive and they're excited about the future. We work. Financial independence is a great thing. And if you find what you love, you work hard enough at it, that's a beneficiary that's it comes. And it's really the magic sauce. And it's cool. Great to be in that position. I am so lucky. Every single day I wake up, I'm like, I'm going to work because I love it. I love what I do. Sorry to ramble.
No worries.
No, that's good.
How do you find those young guns, right? Like, yeah, obviously there is a level of accountability that they're going to be held to. There's a level of, we're here to work. Like we're here to grind it out. But if this is the thing you love, it's not going to feel that way, right? Obviously there are long nights and those things happen, but like this is going to be the thing that is unbelievable for you. How do you find that type of mindset individuals, especially in the younger generations?
So that is a great question. And it has been everywhere from a waitress, okay? A waitress that's probably going to make 400 grand this year after 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so someone reached out to me and I used to be a little more involved in social media, and said, "Hey, I hear you're a car guy. I know Will's smiling and I wash cars and I moved here from Montana and I'm a car wash guy." And I said, "Are you honest? You trustworthy?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Good. Be at my house every Friday at 5:45 a.m. I leave at 7:30. You can wash all the cars and golf carts in my garage, and you got to do it every other Friday. And if you're late, the garage door won't be open." So today,
Man,
he's one of the most successful guys in our company, and you'd really be proud of him. He's got a beautiful baby now. He's got a beautiful bride, and you'd be proud of him. After a year of doing that, he and my son got to know each other. And they came in one day and said, Wally came in and said, "Dad, he wants to be in the real estate business and he is committed to doing it and we got to help him." And I go, "Oh God, this is going to be a fun one." And you'd be so proud of him today. And it goes that far. I've got another guy that is amazingly successful that came in one day and he said, "My uncle's told me about you and I want to be in the commercial real estate business." I said, "You're out of your mind." He said, "No, I want to do it." So we sat and talked for an hour and a half. And he said, "Okay, so what should I do?" I said, "Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go back to your job. I want you to make 200,000 bucks and pass your real estate exam. When you have 200 grand in the bank and you've got your real estate license, come back to see me." 2 years later, he comes in and says, "Okay, I'm ready." One of the greatest men in our industry, will be a leader in this industry forever. You'd be so proud of him. I'm so proud of him. He's just amazing. And he is a rock star. And you'd be so proud. And he did exactly what I said. He asks for stuff when he needs it. He's self-sufficient. He's a leader in the industry. But you never know. I think, Justin, I'm rambling on that. I can tell you, when you meet someone that's driven and you're looking for it, you're paying attention, it doesn't matter where it is. It can be in the lobby of your office. It can, by watching someone's actions, the way they move, the way they listen. It can be anywhere. Success doesn't have a look. It's not tall or short or skinny or heavy set or pink or blue or white or red. It's someone that has a vision. We got this new person that is in our company, and I'm trying not to use names, but youth with desire is absolute dangerous because it the old guard in our industry doesn't have a chance against youth with the technology and the tools that they have. And if they've got the desire, this young lady, she will be with me forever. We'll never let her leave. We make sure now, and there's an element that we're not talking about here, and that's compensation. You cannot forget that if someone is doing that kind of a job, they deserve to be compensated duly. And in many cases, and we watch this very closely, we tend to overpay or bonus when someone does that work because they deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. And we give them a chance to be partners in transactions and partnership. I wasn't able at 23 years old to put 50 grand in a transaction. When you do that at that age and when you hit 33 and that 50 turns into 800 grand, that's life changing. And then the 800 grand, you do that a couple of times and that turns into $4 or $5 million. And it's fantastic. Youth love to invest. They love to do deals. Watch driven youth watches stocks more than I ever, I wouldn't. By the time I was 30, I woke up to what a stock was. I was like, a stock. Okay. But I can't forget about that compensation part because they see that and they feel it and it makes a difference to them. You see that hungry, like there's more out there for me and I'm going to keep doing it to where it makes my family bigger, better, and stronger.
I have to ask, there's obviously a formula to making money, and specifically as a developer, right? Can you kind of simply put, what is a strategy around deals that makes sense for anyone that's even looking to be in the industry, right? What is it that you're looking for, the highlights, right? That you're looking for that go, yep, this could be a good deal, or this is not a good deal?
That's a great question, Will. From the commercial real estate aspect, what makes a commercial piece valuable is density, population density, and traffic counts. If you have density and traffic counts and you have a piece of land that is developable, because there's a lot of land that you look around out there and it may have water issues. It may have slope issues. It could have compaction issues, which all can be solved with money and time. But really you look for bullseyes. We call them bullseyes. They're at a good hard corner. Retailers in today's environment need to generate sales. Sales don't come from locations without density and population. They don't come without traffic counts. Now, every now and then you've got these great, amazing places that are out in the woods or something like that that do good. But the fact is, you need population density and you need traffic counts. You need visibility. In commercial real estate, signage is so important. A lot of these cities get stuck on signage, and we've lost deals over the lack of signage. And the city's got to be more aware of that because they generate sales and they generate a community. But well-located real estate, density, and then you get into a design, and you've got to design it to where it works. And Justin was talking earlier about, those mistakes and those hurdles that don't work. You can have the greatest piece of real estate in the world, but if you don't have access, it's over. They'll never be successful. You've got to have access. You've got to have signage. You've got to have visibility, safety. Safety has become a real issue, especially with what's going on in the world today. Ladies, women need to be safe. They need to feel safe. It has to be designed safe with the proper amount of lighting, not too much landscape. So when you combine all that stuff, that's really what makes commercial real estate. And then It's not an easy game to get into. It takes time. And sometimes people don't have the time to commit. They need the quick hit. They need that quick check to survive. And in this business, it takes, to do a big project. We've got, I think, large scale projects right now. They're 32 to 34 months before they get stabilized and really support themselves. And some of those take 18 months before that 32 months. So you can't just run in and say, I need to make a commercial real estate transaction and get a check and feed my family for this year. Many of the individuals in the commercial real estate, they'll have 50, 60 deals working and close 10 deals this year. The pipelines are priceless, and they're something that you have to acknowledge, be aware of, and you have your short-term goals, your kind of mid-term goals, and then your long-term development goals as well.
So go ahead,
because
Justin.
things they lag, right? The results lags, right? That's just inherent to the business. How do you know either you or somebody in the company are doing good or doing well? Like what are, like, I guess KPIs can be used to say, like, you are on track for the 3-year picture to become the waitress that is now going to be, $400K this year. How do you know that that's happening?
Well, it starts by watching their actions in the office. I mean, it starts every morning. It starts by who beats me in the door. Okay. It starts by questions they're asking, Justin. I mean, if someone's talking to 50 people a day, they've got 10 questions for you. They really do. Because they're like, let me tell you what this guy said, or this gal said, here's what I was confronted with. You can see it early. You really, truly can see that productivity coming early, both with questions and the objections. Like, I ran into this. How do you overcome that? As well as bringing them in. Remember, we talked about accountability. A good management style for someone to come in and go, Justin and Will, how many people did you guys talk to this week? What did you hear? How can we help you? Show me your pipeline. Okay. What are you working on? Who are you talking to? Okay, so you're talking to some tenants. Are you talking to any landowners that need tenants? Are you talking to any retailers that maybe, and this is something we're doing a lot of, we're doing a lot of this now, that have stores that are not productive and they want to sublease them or dispose of them. We're doing a lot of that for some of these national credit tenants now, making sure that they're not in just this narrow gap, that they've got 5 or 6 pathways to success. And then what happens is, over the years that I've learned, what'll happen is that when you give them, let's just say there's 5 paths, after a few years, they'll jump on to 2 of them or 1 of them or 3 of them. They'll be like, nah, I'm a dirt person, or I'm just a tenant rep, or I'm just in the property management side. We've had that where brokers have come in after a year and they're like, I'm not cold calling anybody anymore. I want to make the properties pretty. I want to make sure that they're leased, and I want to make sure the lights are on, but I don't want to cold call and ask people for business anymore. You kind of, if you're watching closely, that back to that accountability word, that's really what kind of ties in to make sure, because a statement I've used with our team is, we need a bar stool with 6 legs, because 1 or 2 are going to get knocked out. Okay. At the end of the day, you're still standing and you have a good foundation, and making sure that they have the support. They want the support. They need the support, and making sure that you're giving them that support. So you're not running into this, like, the last thing you could ever do to these young guns now is not help them through, because they're willing to learn. They want to learn. They want to be successful, and making sure that they have those tools is so, so important. I mean, and that tool can come from anything. It's, I always say to the team, who did you take to lunch this week to ask them for their business? Everybody in my company knows if they take somebody to lunch or dinner, I'll pay the bill. Bring me the bill and go make a new friend. Ask them what you can do to help them. And when you're done, bring me the bill. I'll pay for it. Because you're meeting new people, you're learning more about them, which is helping you have more tools in the industry. And it's truly making everybody bigger, better, and stronger. It's also taking the company and exposing the company to be able to more knowledge. More knowledge is always more success.
So this has been incredibly insightful. Look, if we could stay on and be a Joe Rogan podcast, we would, but we're not quite there yet. So we got to end with our favorite question. And our favorite question to ask everyone is, if you were to go back 20 years, what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself, your 20-year previous self?
God, that's a great question.
And 5. The White Sox are going to win the World Series that year. Made that correlation.
Don't take no for an answer is the first thing. When someone says no, ask why. Think outside the box. I would say read a little more about the world. I was fortunate enough, I sold a company in 2007 and avoided a big crash. I was so focused on my company that I missed what was going on in the world. So today, I spend an hour every morning, usually from 4 to 5 or 4:30 to 5:30, and I watch 4 or 5 different news channels, about 15, 20 minutes apiece, learning of what's going on in the world. Don't create a platform that you not only know what you're doing and what you want to do, but also what's going on in the world around you so you don't miss something and get caught off guard by something that you cannot control. I'd say that's probably and don't ever take no. I mean, just keep asking why and how and make sure you get up early, because if you're out late, you're not going to get up early. And you two, I promise you, you're going to be right there next to Joe Rogan. We'll teach him how to do these things properly with your format, because you guys are amazing.
Thank you so much.
So kind.
This has been awesome. We'll put your social media and all that stuff in the show notes, but if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Walt at dpcre.com, or our website is dpcre.com. I am really easy to find. And thank you, Justin and Will. You guys have been amazing, and just thanks for allowing me this time.
No, this has been great. It's been our pleasure. Totally. Yeah. So as I said, listeners, this has been amazing. Walt, you've been an amazing guest. And until next time, adios.
Adios.
Thanks for listening to Building Scale. To help us reach even more people, please share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or on social media.
Remember, the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology.
And our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy.
So if you think your company's technology pillar could use some improvement, book a call with us to see how we can help maximize your IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
And until next time,
Keep building scale.